Part 1 of 6. The Birth of Norma Jeane. She was more than a smile, more than the white dress blowing above a subway grate, more than the whispered, "Happy birthday, Mr. President." She was a mystery in high heels, a myth in red lipstick, a woman who changed Hollywood and paid the price for it. Before she was Marilyn Monroe, she was Norma Jeane Mortensen. Born on June 1, 1926, in Los Angeles, California, Norma's entrance into the world was anything but glamorous. Her mother, Gladys, worked at a film studio not as a star, but as a film cutter, trimming other people's dreams into final edits. Her father, unknown, a name left blank on the birth certificate. From the beginning, Norma Jeane was a girl without a place to call home. Gladys battled severe mental health issues. Sometimes she would laugh uncontrollably. Other times, she'd stare at the wall for hours. When Norma was just a toddler, her mother was institutionalized, diagnosed with paranoid schizophrenia. It was the first crack in the foundation of Norma's young world. With no one to care for her, Norma was placed in foster care, the first of many homes. Some were kind, others were not. In one home, she was locked in a closet for hours. In another, she was assaulted by a trusted guardian. Before the age of 10, Norma had already learned that safety was not guaranteed and love was something people could take away. But even then, there was something about her, a light in her eyes, a soft determination. She read books, loved stories, and dreamed of being anyone other than herself. At 16, with nowhere else to turn, Norma made a life-changing decision. She got married. Part 2 of 6. Becoming Marilyn. At 16, Norma Jeane married James Doherty, a quiet neighbor 5 years her senior. It wasn't love, not in the romantic, sweep, you-off-your-feet sense. It was survival. A way to escape foster care, a way to become someone's wife, a status that, in 1942, offered a young woman protection. While Jim joined the Merchant Marines and sailed off to war, Norma stayed behind, working in a factory that produced parts for military aircraft. She wore a headscarf. Her hands got dirty. She worked hard. And then, a photographer walked in. The man was taking pictures for a magazine, showcasing the women behind the war effort. When he saw Norma, he saw more than a worker, he saw potential. He took her picture, and something sparked. From that single photo shoot, Norma's modeling career began. It didn't take long before she was in front of cameras more than she was in the factory. Her natural beauty, that quiet mix of innocence and allure, made her irresistible to the lens. But modeling wasn't the end goal, it was just the door. To go further, she needed a new name. Norma Jeane sounded sweet, but not glamorous, not like a movie star. Her agents brainstormed. They chose Marilyn, a name inspired by a Broadway star, and Monroe, her mother's maiden name. Just like that, a legend was born. She dyed her hair platinum blonde, smoothed out her voice into a breathy whisper, practiced walking like a goddess. But inside, she was still Norma, still the girl who was never sure if she belonged. Her first film roles were small. A secretary here, a chorus girl there. She was often cast as the blonde, the beauty, the ditz. But Marilyn was paying attention, watching, learning. Every second on set was a lesson, and she was determined to be more than a pretty face. In 1950, she got a small role in The Asphalt Jungle. Critics noticed. A year later, she appeared in All About Eve, alongside Bette Davis, and stole the scene with just a few lines. But Hollywood still didn't take her seriously. She was eye candy, they said. Box office decoration. What they didn't see was her hunger to be great. Part 3 of 6. The Rise and the Mask. By 1953, Marilyn Monroe wasn't just a name, she was a sensation. She starred in Niagara, playing a dangerous femme fatale wrapped in mystery and red silk. Audiences couldn't take their eyes off her. The camera loved her, and so did the public. Men adored her. Women copied her. Everyone wanted a piece of her. But it was gentlemen prefer blondes that turned her into an icon. In a pink satin dress, with diamonds sparkling around her neck, she sang "Diamonds Are a Girl's Best Friend" and sealed her place in pop culture history. The number was playful, clever, seductive, and, like much of Marilyn's image, misunderstood. People thought she was that character, a dumb blonde who chased rich men. What they didn't know was that Marilyn had written notes all over her script, dissecting every line, analyzing every motivation. She knew what the audience wanted, and she gave it to them with perfect precision. Then came How to Marry a Millionaire and The 7-Year Itch. That famous scene standing over a subway grate, white dress billowing in the air, wasn't just movie magic. It was Marilyn magic. Behind the scenes, though, she was cracking. She hated being typecast, hated being told she wasn't serious, that she wasn't intelligent. She had been reading philosophy, studying acting with Lee Strasberg, and dreaming of roles that had depth and challenge. She wanted to be taken seriously, not just desired. She started missing rehearsals, arriving late, struggling to remember lines. Directors called her difficult, but few stopped to ask why. The truth? Marilyn suffered from crippling anxiety. Before every take, she would tremble. Sometimes she'd throw up. Her fear of failure haunted her. She wanted to be perfect and felt like she never was. To cope, she turned to pills. Sleeping pills to rest. Energy pills to wake up. Then more pills to ease the pain in between. In 1954, she married Joe DiMaggio, baseball's biggest star. He was handsome, private, and protective, but Marilyn wasn't the quiet housewife he imagined. He hated the way men stared at her, hated the spotlight. Their marriage lasted just 9 months. Still, when Marilyn broke down in later years, Joe was the one who came. Quietly, without cameras, he never stopped loving her. Part 4 of 6, The Fight for Control. In 1955, Marilyn did the unthinkable. She walked away from her contract with 20th Century Fox. In Hollywood, that was suicide. Studios controlled everything: your image, your salary, your roles. But Marilyn had had enough of playing the fool, enough of the low pay, enough of being underestimated. She moved to New York and enrolled in the Actors Studio, studying method acting under Lee Strasberg. While critics mocked her decision, Marilyn took it seriously. She sat quietly in class, absorbing every lesson, surrounded by actors who didn't believe she belonged. But she did. She founded her own company, Marilyn Monroe Productions. For the first time, she would have a say. She wanted dramatic roles, real scripts, something more than the blonde in the room. And in 1956, she got it. In Bus Stop, she played a singer with a bruised heart, trapped in a world of loneliness. It was raw, vulnerable, messy, and brilliant. Critics praised her performance. Finally, she was more than just a starlet. That same year, she married Arthur Miller, the Pulitzer Prize-winning playwright behind Death of a Salesman. Their romance was intellectual, intense. Marilyn longed to be respected, and Arthur seemed to see the real, her, the reader, the thinker, the dreamer. But marriage didn't erase her insecurities. She felt out of place among his literary friends. She wrote in her journal, "I'm not enough for him." When she found Miller's notes describing her as embarrassing, it shattered her. Still, she kept working. In 1959, she starred in Some Like It Hot, a screwball comedy with Tony Curtis and Jack Lemmon. On set, she was often late, sometimes erratic, but when the camera rolled magic, the film became a classic, and Marilyn won a Golden Globe. Behind the glitter, however, she was spiraling. Her dependency on pills worsened. She had miscarriages. Her marriage to Miller fell apart. She became increasingly paranoid. Certain people were using her, watching her, lying to her. Yet through it all, she still wanted love, still wanted peace, still wanted to prove she was more than the myth. Part 5 of 6, The Price of Fame. By the early 1960s, Marilyn Monroe was a global icon. She was the most photographed woman in the world. Her image was everywhere: magazines, movie posters, gossip columns. She had become larger than life, a fantasy in heels and diamonds. But the real Marilyn was fading. Her health was declining. She struggled with depression, insomnia, and chronic pain. She switched doctors. Often some fed her addiction. Others tried to save her. None succeeded completely. Yet she still had moments of brilliance. In 1960, she filmed The Misfits, written by Arthur Miller specifically for her. It was meant to be a love letter, but the filming process became a nightmare. The Nevada heat was brutal. Marilyn was emotionally unstable. Clark Gable, her co-star, was aging and exhausted. The production was slow, chaotic, and heartbreaking. But the performance she gave? Stunning, raw, haunted. It was her most personal role, a woman searching for meaning in a world that didn't care. Just weeks after filming ended, Gable died of a heart attack. Marilyn blamed herself. She believed her delays and troubles had contributed to his death. The guilt stayed with her. Then came the rumors, whispers of affairs with powerful men, including John F. Kennedy and maybe even his brother, Robert. Nobody knows exactly what happened, but something did, and it changed her. She seemed more fragile, more scared, more watched. In May 1962, she appeared at Madison Square Garden to sing Happy Birthday, Mr. President, to JFK. Wearing a skin-tight, sparkling dress, she walked on stage like a whisper wrapped in silk. The world watched, stunned, enchanted, suspicious. It was the last major public appearance of her life. Back in Los Angeles, Marilyn was fired from her latest film, Something's Got to Give. Her absences, her erratic behavior, her fights with the studio, they had had enough. Still, just before her death, things seemed to shift. She rehired her publicist, scheduled interviews, reconciled with 20th Century Fox. She was smiling more, talking about a comeback. But on August 5, 1962, everything stopped. Part 6 of 6, The Final Curtain. On August 5, 1962, Marilyn Monroe was found dead in her Brentwood home. She was just 36 years old. The world froze. The official cause? A probable suicide. A lethal dose of barbiturates. She was found lying face down, phone in hand, empty pill bottles by her side. But questions swirled. Some believed it was an accident, a tragic mistake after years of insomnia and anxiety. Others whispered conspiracy. Was it the Kennedys? The FBI? Organized crime? Was someone trying to silence her? The truth may never be known. What is known is this: Marilyn died alone, in a world that adored her image but ignored her pain. She was a woman who had everything: fame, beauty, money, and yet never felt truly loved. Joe DiMaggio claimed her body. He banned Hollywood from the funeral. No producers. No actors. Just family and those who really knew her. For 20 years after her death, Joe sent roses to her grave every week. Marilyn Monroe became a legend. But Norma Jeane never left. She remained the girl with the shy smile, the girl who wanted to be seen, not stared at, the girl who read poetry and wrote in notebooks, who wanted to be loved for more than her looks. Today, people still dress like her, quote her, celebrate her. But too often, they forget her sadness, her struggle, her depth. She was more than just blonde hair and red lips. She was an actress who studied, a woman who fought for better roles, a soul who burned too brightly and faded too fast. Her story reminds us that fame is not peace, applause is not affection, and beauty is not armor. Marilyn Monroe was not perfect. She was human,